You guys are just waking up, tuning in. We don't have our 5+ stream today because it's Thanksgiving, and you guys are watching the parade here in the next 8 minutes or so. And just to let you know, I'm going to pop in over there in the next 5 minutes, do a cut-in for the Today Show before the parade, then I'll come back and talk to you. But I want to talk about, first and foremost, we've got a winter storm on the way. You can text 314-425-5355 and send us a message about the specifics. But I'm going to try to go through a few things for you right now. First and foremost, we're under a winter storm watch. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're seeing a lot of these areas, specifically right about here, that are likely to see a little heavier snow. And anywhere in a winter storm watch has the likelihood for 6+ inches of snow. You'll see how far this carries. That includes Chicago. So if you're traveling and connecting into Chicago, even out of Minneapolis, but this is a pretty good snow belt for us. That includes several of our counties, and I'll talk about that specifically: St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles, Grafton, Alton, Litchfield, Chesterfield on the Illinois side, Eolia, anywhere you're traveling to the north. That's kind of what we're dealing with. It's a small handful of our counties, Vandalia as well. So that's where I'm telling you right now. That's where we're seeing the good snow. So like I said, you message me here. I'll try to get to it at the end, but I just want to get you right out the door and know that today and tomorrow it's fine, right? We're in pretty good shape. But what I'll tell you what is we're dealing with snow on the way. There's just no doubt about it. These areas that I've highlighted in the winter storm watch, they'll be upgraded to either a winter storm warning or the rest of the areas under a winter weather advisory. I think that's the headline that we can expect today. And first and foremost, I've kind of showed you the same graphic the last few days as you've seen this. A rain-snow mix is still expected. It is imminent on Saturday. You will see the coldest air in the morning without a doubt. The coldest air in the morning where the snow is, to me, that's where we're going to see the most specific issues of snowfall in the region. Now, as we continue to focus on snow accumulations in St. Louis and Northeast, that's to me where we're going to see the accumulation. Now, you may say, hey, it's warm outside. There's a warm ground. Why are we talking about this? Well, here are the challenges ahead for us, to me. Snowfall rates can overcome the warm ground. There's just no doubt about it to me. We're going to continue to see snowfall rates overcome that warm ground, but we've got a transition line from rain to snow. Where's that going to be and how's it set up in the morning? When does it happen? That's very, very important to finding the dividing line of when we're going to see the heaviest snow. And I think we'll actually see some localized cooling, and I'll talk about that right now because I think you'll see dry, cold air initially, that warm, moist air hits it and evaporates. That cools things down for us. So that's all these little challenges make it kind of difficult to find where we're going to see the heaviest snow. So this is the area that I want to highlight here and talk about what's going on, because look at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Watch initially. That's where we see, watch our temps go from 36, 37, and then they cool down a little bit as that snow enters. That's the evaporative cooling that we see. And think of it in a sense of how often have you had a hot summer day and we get a little bit of rain in the distance and it kind of falls and evaporates. That's what we're going to see. I'm going to leave you with this right now because I got to go over here to the other side for a Today Show cut-in. So I'm going to put this on a full screen. I'll be right back within the next 2 minutes. Actually, you're going to see what I put on the Today Show because that's what I'm doing right here. So you're going to get this right here for a second. You'll hear me talking on the Today Show, and I'll be right back for you guys. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Weather Impact Meteorologist Gary Frank here at 8:26. Before the parade, let's get you out the door. Locally, we're in the upper 30s and low 40s. We have no issues whatsoever. But obviously the big story is the snow's impending arrival, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Snow looks a little bit more likely as we go throughout the morning. To me, between 3 a.m. and 10 a.m., that's where the most snow falls area-wide. But then the transitional period becomes a little bit more interesting. When do we see that rain transition into a mix of rain and snow? Areas north and northeast have a better opportunity because even at 3 or 4 o'clock, look where it's still snowing. Those are where the higher locations are going to see. You're going to see those totals much higher. Expected snowfall, here's how I think it breaks down at this point. 4 to 6 inches of pure heavy snow, and then right around this belt, 2 to 4 inches plus. But that's the transitional period. Where do we see that rain-snow line kind of set up? Because we could even see up to 2 inches in some spots from Crystal City, Potosi, and Farmington. but then it may melt later in the day because this warm air that's going to transition those early flakes to mostly rain makes a difference. So this is something that we're going to pay attention to. I'm doing an update right now on 5 Plus that I'm in the middle of. If you want to switch that on and listen to it during the parade, we'll talk about that as well. I also think there's going to be some pretty good refreeze overnight from all that liquid that refreezes. That's what we'll discuss here over the next few days as we expect a winter storm on Saturday. Updates on KSDK.com and 5 Plus right now. We're streaming live. Thank you, buddy. You too. Well, as we continue to see, you guys see the 7-day forecast. I'm back. I'm walking over. You guys probably see this little studio. This is where we've kind of gone back and forth here. If you've seen that. All right, let me pull this back up for you guys. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys are on here. So let's talk about what's going on. I'm back over here. I ran back over here as we've got, like I said, the main story for us here is we're going to see this snow that settles in by 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. This is what we're going to see through 6 or 7 o'clock, right? To me, during the coldest part of the morning, that's where we're getting the most snow as we look ahead. So to me, that's where we're getting the most snow at this point. But as we look ahead throughout the next several hours, watch how we're still at freezing or just below it, right? You can see where there's a specific line, even at this hour, where, yeah, I mentioned this yesterday on the stream where, you know, I thought maybe right about here was probably our line, and then it was kind of transitioned here. Well, now it's a little further south, in my opinion, right? So it's where does that line kind of set up for us here? Because I think what we're going to see is even through 10 a.m., temps around freezing. Notice even if I zoom into some of these spots where we have these higher, these darker shades, right? To me, that's where we could see 1 to maybe 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. But does that mean that we're going to get 2 inches of snow in those areas? Maybe in the grass for a little bit, maybe not so much on the roads. There's going to be initial melting, but because of those high snowfall rates, to me, that's where we really see the issues. And it's a really kind of a funny equation to try to figure that out. But to me, it does look like snow is more likely. There's no doubt about it. Now, as I go throughout the next several hours, watch how 12, 1 o'clock, we start to see that mix settle in. And to me, that's where I think we're going to have to watch out for this, because notice how temperatures start to come up at St. Louis, Chesterfield, Sullivan. Where are we at? Are we at 34 there? Are we still at 33? Or are we even maybe a little warmer, 36, 37? To me, that's what we're going to see, because I think we probably have more rain that starts to settle in, but look from north to south. And I'll get to the impacts in each area here shortly, and then I'll try to answer some of your questions here. But notice how we get in St. Louis, Shiloh, Nashville. To me, I think you're going to continue to look at this here from Jerseyville. Look how it's still cold. Areas to the north. And even if you really want to broaden this out, you're driving to Chicago or you're flying to Chicago, that's a pretty good amount of snow. Northern Missouri on Highway 36. You know, for the first time ever, you might say, yeah, Saturday I'm going to drive I-70 instead of 36 to get to Kansas City or St. Joe, because, you know, it's not going to be any fun, I don't think, here at this point. To me, that's the way it looks the rest of the day. Now watch how we get to 7 or 8 o'clock. Look where it still wants to snow again, because the colder air is settling back in, and then eventually the cold air settles in overnight and we refreeze. Now, I want to show you this map, and then I'll talk about some of the snowfall probability. Well, let's talk about some of the snowfall probabilities and why I kind of have this map the way it is, because as I kind of show you right now, and I'll put this on a full screen so maybe you can see a little bit better, what you'll see here is, yeah, 4 to 6 inches plus. Troy, Jerseyville, Alton, even St. Charles possibly, Litchfield, north of Vandalia. To me, that's where the higher end of the potential for snow is. That's where I think, now, that's the heavy snow. That's where, you know, it's going to be colder for longer, and if it's snowing the whole day, trust me, you're going to see some totals that could get even up to 8 inches. I would not even be surprised. That's something that we continue to monitor here. Now, as we look at the snow in the lighter shade of blue, that's where I think we're going to see that interesting transitional zone where, yeah, okay, we've got snow that's falling, but, you know, it's a matter of, okay, where do we see that transition to that rain-snow mix? Is it sooner? Is it later? This is where we have the high end, and that's why I have the plus. Like, we could see some higher end numbers. I want to show you the raw statistical value of some of the model output now. Now, the area in the pink, that's more of a rain-snow mix to me, where you could see up to 2 inches, but this may get a little warm, and it may be transitioned to rain, where you could go outside and measure it 2 inches pretty quickly, but gradually throughout the next 2 hours as it transitions to rain, yeah, we may not see that anymore. It may be hard to measure because you got to measure it quickly and then it melts, right? So that's where I think we have to watch out for this. That's why this is an interesting proposition now. Now, I want to show you the transitional period, because let's look at the total raw let's look at the raw output. And to me, this is always an interesting thing because all these models have these statistics, and this kind of gives us a value to give us an idea of a high-end threshold and a low-end threshold, right? But it's finding these numbers and putting in all those little things where I talked about the warm ground, high snowfall rates, evaporative cooling, trying to figure out all this thing. That's what the winter weather forecast challenges always are, right? So this kind of gives us at least a raw numbers. If you're a numbers person, this is where we are. Now, 1 inch of snow in St. Louis, you got a 70% chance of that. But notice when we get up to 2 inches, it's still pretty high. Same with 4 and 6, you have about a 30% chance. So there's not a shutoff period where, yeah, there's a high end, and that's why St. Louis City and County are under that winter weather or winter storm watch, because there still is a 30% chance we can get 6 inches of snow, right? The right thing lines up, right? It gets cold enough, it snows the whole morning, we're going to get 6+ inches of snow. That's not out of the question, right? Now, let's look to an area that I mentioned to the north that to me seems like a slam dunk. And I chose Litchfield for this because when you look at a 1 inch capability, it's a 9 out of 10 shot. When you get to 2 inches, it's an 8 out of 10 shot. When you get to 4 inches, it's, you know, 2/3 of a chance. And then when you get to 6 inches, it's a 50% chance, right? So there's a pretty small bunch of higher numbers where you have the possibility in Litchfield to see those higher numbers. Now, I'll pull up Farmington as an example. And this is where it spreads out a little further because of not only the uncertainty, but to me, the warmer air that's in place. Sure, there's maybe a 10% chance of 6 inches of snow in Farmington, but there's only a 50% chance of 1 inch of snow, right? So that's where, to me, I see, well, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to achieve that number, right? So to me, that's where I think we're looking at that a little bit more specifically as well. So, like I said, for us, we're dealing with this winter storm watch that's in place, and we fight all this. So I want to go county by county on this, and hopefully this answers some of your questions here throughout, and then I'll kind of get to them specifically. Like I said, I paused this at 12 o'clock because I think that's when we're going to start to transition to warmer air. If you're to the north, Troy, Jerseyville, Litchfield, 3 a.m. to 10 p.m., you're going to deal with heavy snow, low visibility, snow-covered roads as well. Prepare for those snow-covered roads, right? So that's one thing. As we go a little further to the south, you're seeing, or a little further into the Metro East, I think this is from 9 a.m. to about midnight. You're going to see mostly snow, slushy roads. That includes Shiloh, Nashville, Edwardsville, Salem. You may hang on to the cold air a little bit longer, so that's going to be something to pay attention to. I think at the very least, slushy roads or snow-covered roads are possible for you as well. Now I'll scan myself closer to the St. Louis area, because notice how on our most recent data, this is transitioning at noon to, you have a mix of snow, rain and snow, and just rain, because it's going to see changing temperatures from 32 to 37, right? We're going to see this from as early as 3 a.m. to 10 p.m. throughout the area, right? That's where I think we're going to see slushy roads in the most kind of transitional period. That's why driving down 44, if you're going from 64 or even 44 from, say, St. Louis to Sullivan, there's going to be a big difference in what's going on. Now, to the south, yeah, are you still going to get snow in Farmington, Perryville, Centerville, Fredericktown, and Rolla? Yeah, you are in the morning. And then that transitions to rain as temperatures rise to near 40. So if you get snow, great, it's in the morning. As temperatures warm up a little bit gradually and the sun rises, that's going to start to melt. At least that's the way it looks like to me. So now I'm going to put this snowfall map on for you as I try to answer some of your questions, and hopefully this gives you an idea. So first and foremost, let's go on down here. Linda said, Thanksgiving blessings. I appreciate you, Linda. Have a great day. Haley said she needs it to come a little farther south. Anthony asked, what about Fenton, how much we can expect? You know, honestly, I think Fenton is in the 2 to 4 inch possibility, but it really depends on where we see that transitional period of cold air and heavier snow early on. Can it overcome the warm ground? Does it get to 36, 37 quickly in St. Louis and surrounding areas? That's what we're watching, Anthony. Chris said, glad I found my rulers. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Chris. Get out there and measure it quickly, because I think it's going to change throughout the day. Big, fat, fluffy, wet snow. Marlene says, happy Thanksgiving to you. How does Lake of the Ozarks look? Jason, I think you're going to deal with more rain. You may see some snow early, but I think that rain is probably the main factor for us. Happy Thanksgiving, Tyrone. St. Louis, I think you're between 2 to 4 inches. You know, Staunton, to me, Chris, I think where we're looking at, to me, is I think Staunton has a possibility where you're going to get some higher snowfall totals. To me, Chris, I think you even have a 6 to 8 inch capability. It really, really depends, but you are definitely in the higher side. I would bet that in Staunton, you're likely to see that upgraded to a winter storm warning. To me, I think that's where we're going to see 6, 7, maybe 8 inches of snow. To me, it seems colder there longer. High Ridge, Melanie, I think you're going to see upwards of 2 to 4 inches, but we'll see how warm it gets there. I think you'll transition to rain a little sooner, but we're going to watch that dividing line pretty quickly. Remember, it's Thursday, and I know this is on Saturday, but this system is barely in the United States right now. That's how quickly it's racing through. But to me, I think there's enough cold air, and to me, I'm seeing more of a sign that, yeah, things are going to get on the colder side here, and we're going to look at better chances for snow here. Deborah, how much in St. Charles? I think you're right about 4 inches with a 3, 4, maybe 5 inches. You're right on that line where I think it's going to be a little colder in St. Charles. To me, that's the way it looks like right now. So you're walking around getting ready for Christmas traditions in St. Charles. It may be coating the trees pretty nicely. So we'll see how that looks. What does the travel look like from Tennessee to St. Louis back home Sunday? I think in the morning, because of the refreeze of the roads, that looks more dangerous. I think in the afternoon, it's cold, but things should be better overall as we kind of get caught up on that. But it's definitely going to be cold. Brittany asked that question as well. Heading back from Alabama Saturday night, what are the chances for rain and snow at that point? Depends on what you get back from. I think the later you get back, I think it's over. I really think it's all shut off from the entire area that you're driving in by midnight. Let me look at a couple of questions from our 314-623. Should I be worried for my 4 a.m. drive to work? I'm not sure where you are. I cannot quite tell, but I want to kind of update you. I think your 4 a.m. drive to work is better. I don't think it's snowing quite as hard, and I don't think it's quite as cold. So I think 4 a.m. is okay on Saturday morning. Later in the day, I think it's going to be a little slower. I had 314-662. I have to drive from Belleville to Bridgeton at Saturday for 4 a.m. for work. Should I leave early? You know, I think if you're leaving at 4 a.m. and getting there at 5 a.m., I think you're okay. I think maybe 15 minutes. I don't think it's going to snow quite as early in Bridgeton at that point, but I think it may be beginning, but I don't think it's going to slow you down much more than 15 minutes because there's no way that we're going to have as much snow to cover the roads at that point, in my opinion, for that particular time in travel because we really need that snow to cool down the roads first, and I'm not sure it's going to do it at 4 a.m. Now, 7 or 8 a.m., different conversation, I think. I don't think it snows as early. I need to drive to Augusta in the morning from Troy. What do you expect? I know you're in Troy, Missouri, because you've messaged me before, so thank you for that. I need to drive to Augusta in the morning. What do you expect between the two towns? So on Sunday morning. On Sunday morning, I do expect, thanks for that clarification, 636-577. I do think that we're going to see refreezing overnight. Now, it's a matter of how they treat the roads because, yeah, there's going to be some melting at some point, but then it refreezes overnight. So it's a matter of how they retreat the roads. I think there are going to be some slick spots, especially in Augusta where maybe they're not able to treat that. I know 94 is a very historically slow spot. There's some higher elevations there as well. I'd plan on an extra 15 minutes in the morning on Sunday. Somebody asked, can I play the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? That's on NBC, not the 5+ stream. So it's on there. It's on there right now. That's why I'm streaming right now. Good morning. How much do you think you're going to get in Portage de Sioux? You know, I think in Portage de Sioux, I think you're going to get, I would say, upwards of 2 to 3 inches. But, you know, for me, it really just kind of depends because you're still on the transitional line at least where, yeah, maybe 3 to 4 inches or so. I think that's, you know, the very important point. I think you're on the higher side. I think you're just kind of on the edge. I know technically you're on the edge of the river and where I think we're going to see higher conditions, but I would expect at least 4 inches of snow in Portage de Sioux. You're kind of right on the air. I have a flight at 4 p.m. driving from Webster Groves. That's, of course, on Saturday, I think. I think it's going to be slow on at 4 p.m., and I think there are going to be some delays at the airports, especially with the way the wind is going to be blowing on Saturday. So I think it's doable, but it's going to take you some time. Like I said, I don't think the roads are going to be an ice rink, but it's going to be slower because of the temperatures. They've got some slushy roads. The visibility is going to be down as well. So that's kind of where I think. Let's see. Thank you for the happy Thanksgiving. The Schnucks Panic Aisle will open tomorrow morning. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's see. How much, good morning, and how much do you think we're going to get? I got you there. Okay, Pacific area. When can we see this hit, and when do we expect it? In Pacific, like I said, I think that let me switch this back on this one. I think in Pacific, you're not going to see this start until about, travel on Sunday from St. Louis to Chicago is probably better because they'll take care of the major interstates. But anytime on Saturday, I'm not sure that's going to be the case. And the snow will be over at that point. But in Pacific, I don't think you're going to start to see that in Pacific until about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's when the snow really picks up. So that's where I think. So, okay, everybody's caught up there. What do you think travel will be like Saturday evening from Chesterfield Valley to Tower Grove? You know, I think as we get into the evening, it depends on when you're going, but I think we're going to see more wet roadways at that point, personally, because I think the snow comes to a close as we start to see temperatures come up. So, to me, that's where we at. Bethany asks about Mark Twain Lake area. I think you get some pretty good snow in Mark Twain Lake. I think that, to me, that's where it's going to be 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. To me, that's where we are with that right now. How much snow for Washington? I think we're going to see upwards of, to me, 2 to 3 inches at the very least. We'll watch that. It's that transitional area for me that I think we see at that point. Happy Thanksgiving, Cheryl. How about our family flying out Sunday? I think, Megan, I think family flying out Sunday is good. I think things are better as well. So you're in good shape there. No problem, Melanie. And DeSoto, I know you just jumped on. I still think you're probably in between. To me, I think you're still in between that 2 to 4 inch area. I'm going to flash that on for you. I think you're in that 2 to 4 inch transitional area where we're going to see where that colder air settles in at that point. So to me, that's where I think we are. I flashed that on for you. I'm going to put that on full screen. Like I said, you know, this is where we are with this right now. To me, there's a good transitional period here between this area. I'm going to put this on this so I can do this here. There's a good transitional period here where, you know, to me it's, oops, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. There's a good transitional period right about here where does that rain snow line develop? That's going to make a huge difference. And also, how warm does it get? How quickly? How are the roads going to be on Saturday morning in O'Fallon around 7 a.m.? I got to think on O'Fallon, Missouri, or O'Fallon, Illinois. I think that's a different answer. Brittany. O'Fallon, Missouri, I think the roads are getting slicker. O'Fallon, Illinois, I'm not sure it's snowing yet. It's close, though. So that's a different answer. Columbia, I think you're dealing with more rain in Columbia than anything. So that's kind of where we are with this right now. But like I said, let's watch this area. To me, it's that area right there that we're going to watch specifically. So like I said, this area right here, I know the lighting's weird because we're in this temp studio and we're moving and all that good stuff. So that's why it looks a little weird here. So it doesn't look as very well lit. But this area right here, that's the in-between. Where does that transitional line set up? We're monitoring this throughout the rest of the morning. We're going to keep you posted at this moment. But like I said, that's what we're talking about right now. And I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. I'll try to keep you posted online throughout the day. If I see any new updates, somebody asked 6 a.m. from Washington to Mercy, St. Louis, and then back 7:30. So that's kind of where we are with that. I do think that 6 a.m. is probably better, 636, 742. But then back at 7:30, I think, you know, honestly, if you don't go back, I think you may miss it. I really do. I think you may miss the worst of it. 636, 742, message me. I think you're going to miss the worst of it because you get out of there before, and if you're in the hospital the whole time and you don't come back till 7:30, I think it's warm enough and the roads are generally just wet. And then it's a grassy snow, and then it refreezes overnight. So I think you're okay. That's where we are right now. O'Fallon, Missouri, Brittany, I think you're going to see the early snow. I think that's what you're dealing with in the morning. So anyway, everybody's back to cooking. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to enjoy the day myself. I'm off the rest of the day, but I'll be back the next couple of days, and I'll keep you posted online between now, and meteorologist Lance Blocker will be coming in later on today and updating you on this. So I will leave you on this snowfall map before they end this live stream, and you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll try to monitor your comments in the short term.